Hey, my friend, how are you? The Rush? The Rush? I think that's the way it's pronounced. How are you doing, my friend? Good night, good morning, good evening. Doesn't matter where you're watching from. Welcome to the stream. Welcome, guys. Welcome to the stream. So, today we're going to be working on the retopology for this guy. I was thinking about when we were going to be doing that, and I think this is probably the best time. That way we can chat, we can answer questions, and I can just do this part of the process, which is a little bit boring. That way you don't have to watch the whole thing on the YouTube, like the main YouTube videos. Sounds good. You're watching from India. Amazing. Great, great. What time is it over there in India? Is it really early or is it really late? I think it's really early, right? Is it what, like 8 a.m. or something? Okay, it's very, very early. Wow. I'm gonna try and stream a little bit later over here so that it's not as early for you guys. Maybe we'll get a little bit more viewers as well. I'm always happy to interact with you guys. So what I'm doing here is I am creating a pair of polygroups real quick, and we're gonna be splitting them. So I'm gonna go subtool, and we're gonna say split, group split, so that we get the main body, which is this one right here, and then the main like little like tabard thing shape that we have over here. And I'm trying to see if it's possible to do the retopology here inside of ZBrush, because it's a really complex like character what we have right here, and if we try to do it manually inside of Maya, it's gonna take quite a while. It's not gonna be as easy as it might seem. So I'm gonna give it a shot. This is a little bit of a dirty way to do it, but let's see how it goes. So I'm gonna duplicate this guy first, and now I have like 2 copies. And I'm gonna dynamesh it. So what's gonna happen, as you can see right here, is all of the body, all of the spikes, all of the things get like bundled together in a single mesh, which is gonna make it a little bit easier for a series mesher to work. However, as you saw there, the resolution that we have is quite little, so I'm gonna go a little bit higher actually. I'm just gonna hit dynamesh. Oh, let's try 100 and dynamesh. And there we go. So now, as you can see, we keep most of the detail, most of the elements, most of the shapes and stuff. There's not a lot of overlap, but thankfully everything is a single mesh. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to series mesh this. I'm gonna go geometry, and we're gonna go into series mesher. But we're gonna help this guy a little bit. And the way we're gonna help this is we are gonna be using the curve tool. So series mesher guides right here, and I'm gonna be using this to help ZBrush know that we have like a couple of cylindrical shapes, especially on the fingers. That's like the area that usually needs a little bit more help. So something like this. There we go. By the way, guys, I'm not sure how many viewers we have. It seems like we have few viewers right now. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them. I'm happy to help. Any question is valid. Oh, we have a little bit of empty space there. That's it's gonna be a problem. We might end up doing this like manually, which I really don't want to do. Okay. So let's give this guy a go. Let's click series mesher and hope that ZBrush does not crash. Maybe we'll get it. And yeah, let's see. I mean, I mainly want to get most of like the upper area as close as possible or as ready as possible. If we don't get it nowhere, we'll do it manually instead of Maya. But maybe we'll get at least like a head start. Small head start could be nice. It's a little bit late over here. Well, not a little bit. It's about 10 p.m. So you guys are one day ahead. It's a Wednesday for you, if I'm not mistaken. And it's only still Tuesday for me over here. Yeah, I don't think it's going to work. Let's cancel it. Okay. So we're going to have to go traditional. That's fine. That's fine. So, again, I separated these two guys. This is my high poly, or one of the versions of the high poly. And this is the other part of the high poly. And I split them into two different objects so that it's a little bit easier to work with them inside of Maya. Now, this guy is at 925,000.04 points. I'm going to see if I can reduce this a little bit more to make it a little bit easier for Maya. So I'm going to go C plugin, the subtotal, or sorry, what was it? Well, let's first export this guy. This guy is fine, actually. So we're going to call this infected decimated tabard. And now this guy, we're going to go C plugin, and we're going to say, Decimation Master. Yes, my friend, Durvankur Dama. The next course that I'm going to be releasing in May is going to be a character anatomy course. There's going to be a little bit of anatomy. It's not specifically anatomy, but it's a character sculpting course, and I can't spoil it just yet. I'm really, really wishing to be able to share with you what it is, but it involves a character. That's all I can say. I can say that's not for games. However, it is useful for games. Like the information that we go through, it's going to be useful for games, but it's not a game character. After that one, we're probably going to be doing the anatomy course, and that one is going to be a character for games. So yeah, we're working on those. We are working on those. Is sculpting something like this possible in Blender? Yes, it is possible. It is definitely possible. I'm not the best guy to ask about sculpting in Blender because I have not sculpted in Blender. I've done very basic stuff, to be honest. But I know that you can do this. Most of the things that I did with this character, I think, can be done easily inside of Blender. Yeah, but there are a couple of things that ZBrush is, of course, better. That's one thing I always talk about this. You're always gonna have your DCC programs. They're like the main, the spinal cord, like the vertebrae of your 3D pipeline, right? And the three big ones are 3D Studio Max, Blender, and Maya. Those are the three big chunks, big pillars of the 3D industry. You as an artist usually pick one of those three and become or start learning it so that you become really good at it. And once you master that one, you're gonna be picking extra softwares that are gonna make you a better artist, like ZBrush. So Blender can do really, really good modeling, and it can do, I would say, a quite decent job at sculpting. But ZBrush is better. It's just better at sculpting. So if you want to be a 3D artist, you're usually going to have your main software where you do most of the renders and animations and stuff like that. And then you're going to have other accessory softwares like this one that's going to do a better job at specific things such as sculpting. So let's do this and let's try decimating this. Yes, amazing, great. So we were able to bring this down all the way to 155 points. That's great, 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 because that's gonna give us a really nice working thing for Maya. Cool. So let's go here inside of Maya, and I'm gonna import the infected decimated and infected decimated tabard. There we go. Now, I usually like working this thing on top of the grid. It just makes it a little bit easier. However, we need to remember that if we move this thing up in the grid, we're eventually going to have to move other things. So I'm just going to make sure that I remember that my units are 5 units on top of the grid. And we can start retopologizing. So I'm going to give you guys a quick overview. I'm not sure if the 4 viewers that we have right now are informed about retopology, but retopology is a thing that we do to reconstruct all of these things inside of Maya. Now this thing is symmetrical. That's great. It's gonna save us a little bit of time. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click this little button right here, which is a live surface. I'm gonna select this guy right here, and I'm gonna go into Quad Draw. And now it's just a matter of drawing little polygons that are gonna reconstruct the surface of my character. And we want to do this, of course, to reduce the amount of polygons that are eventually going to be going into a game engine. And the most important thing about retopology, whenever you guys are doing retopology, one of the things that you always want to keep in mind is the silhouette of your character. So in retopology, triangles are perfectly valid as long as you're using them properly and you're using them for like to catch like specific details of your element. And of course, we do follow certain rules like edge flow and things like that when applicable. But especially for things like this, which is like an object that's not going to be animated, it's not really that important. As long as things go from top to bottom and from left to right, we're going to be in a good shape. So as you can see, I'm keeping my poly counter really low here, like big chunks of polygons first. So that when we start doing other things, for instance here, that's a silhouette, so it's easier to just like add one point right there. And see how I very quickly managed to capture all of that section? That's what we want to do. It's going to save us so much work. There we go. Now these are the little corners that become a little bit problematic. So a nice trick that I have for you is add a point and then make that a triangle. That way we can get like another little shelf right there without actually like contaminating any of the other areas. Same here, like this is a very flat area, so just keep it straight. We keep it straight and that's a square, and that's it. That's the retopology done for that specific area. If the object has a little bit of a bevel, and if the engine allows for it, or if the project allows for it, you should add the bevel. It's going to give you a nicer, cleaner topology. But if you can't, because it's not affordable on the project, due to the poly counts or poly budget, then as long as it flows nicely, you should be fine. There we go. You can see we just start adding some of these points over here, and we just keep going. Keep the questions coming, by the way, guys. Feel free. We don't charge anything in this stream, so every question is welcome. This is gonna be it's a little bit of a slow process, unfortunately. It's one of those things that, even though there's a lot of tools that are supposed to be doing this thing automatically, if you do it like manually, you're gonna get the best results. So these are the kind of things that, even though it might take a little bit of time, it's really worth it to do it. It's gonna give you, it's just way better for the end result. So you can see I'm doing a little bit of a loop right there to capture that little curvature on the tabard, and then we just keep going up. There we go. By the way, I know you guys know the little like commercial that we have now, the Skillshare commercial. So make sure to check that one out. We do have the free premium month subscription. So you can check any of my courses. I'm really happy with the Marvelous course. That one was a challenge, but I think you guys are gonna like it. If you have not learned about a Marvelous, I think it's a great. Yes, at VT, yeah, we already have a like UVs. It's called Demystifying UVs. If you check our like a playlist, you're gonna find it. I think I did that like early January, so like 2 or 3 months ago. But this model that you see right now, if you want to stay for live stream, as soon as I'm done, which is about 10 minutes, I would say, I'm gonna show you how to do the UVs for this like little tabard thing. So yeah, we do cover those things as well. What is the thing that you have issues with when talking about UVs? Because a lot of people have like different a lot of people have that question, or like they have different issues. Like some people don't know where to put the seams, some people don't know how to like get the initial cuts. There's like different things. Chris, that's a great question. Would it be worth it to see what the software does automatically? I think it's worth it. Let's do it. So I'm just gonna duplicate this thing real quick. Let's move it to the side. And Maya has this new thing called Retopologize, which we can open here. And I can say, hey, you know what? I want this thing to be 150,000 or 1,500 triangles. I'm just gonna hit apply. And technically, we get this. Now, is it bad? Yes. It's pretty bad. Now, the reason why this might look really bad is because this piece right here is actually 3 pieces just like one on top of each other. So it doesn't really know where to put more or less like elements. So unfortunately, like automatic tools usually are not that good. However, as you just said, like maybe we say, hey, what if we give this guy a shot, right? Like maybe we can get a lot of the stuff up here like ready, and then we make it work. I think we're still gonna get like the same problem. Like if it's a, let's say 20,000 triangles and I hit apply. Yeah, it doesn't work. It has non-manifold geometry. So yeah, it could work. I don't think it's gonna work for this particular character, but if it's a simple thing or if it's like a very organic thing, I think that could work. So don't it's a good idea. Just make sure that you understand why you're doing it and how you're doing it so that you get the best possible result. Durbankur Dama says, in interview, what are the questions asked and software expertise required? That's going to depend on what job you're going for. Not all of the studios require the same kind of stuff. Again, I'm not the best person to ask those sort of questions because I've been fortunate enough to be my own boss for a couple of years now. I work as a freelancer, so usually people come to me when they want something done, and I don't have to ask for the job. They already know my work, and they're like, hey, we need you, so just let us know what we need to do to work with you, and we'll do it. That's usually how it happens. But I did have an interview last year for a nice position at a studio called Ethos in Los Angeles. I worked remotely, of course, and just the basic questions that they ask me is, hey, do you have experience with this software? Do you have experience with this pipeline? Do you understand this sort of workflow? I can't really tell you exactly what they asked me because the project's still under NDA. But it was basic things. It was like asking me, hey, do you know how to do a monster? Or do you know how to do this or that? And I would be like, yeah, I now know that, I know that. They did ask me something that I didn't know. They told me, have you used this server called Perforce? And I was like, no, I've never used Perforce to like submit files or anything. But if you give me, that's the best answer you can say. If you let me know what kind of things you need, I can do my research. Or if you have an internal document that I can review, I'll be happy to read it and get get used to the process. So don't ever say that you can't do something. Just say that you don't. Be honest. But then you promise that you're gonna read, study, or just get better at it to fill in that knowledge gap. Let's see. Hello, sir. How are you? I have one question. This is Gursimran Singh. Oh, that's a very cool name. I have one question. Try to make face in Maya, but it doesn't look good. Same to reference. I asked to my friend. He said face have muscles, bone tissue, then skin make a volume, but it confused me. Okay, that's a little bit deeper. That's a little bit of a deeper question. But let me see if I can answer. Let me just finish this thing right here, Gursimran, and I'll answer your question. It's a really interesting question. Oh, nice, Achilles. That's great. Which one? The demon character? The demon character for games? Was that the course that helped you get a job? Yeah, you do know about Perforce, Chris? Yeah, I didn't know about it. Now I know it, and it's like a server or something that links everything together. It's pretty easy to use, but it's important, as I mentioned, always be honest with the employer or with whoever you're talking to, because it's just honesty is just better. But keep it like an open mind, like, oh, I don't know the software, but I can learn it. One of the best things you can say is I'm a fast learner, so that gives them a little bit of like confidence that you are going to be picking up the slack really quickly. You're going to learn really quickly. Hey, Pinette, how are you, my friend? Oh, okay, yeah. Those were the first tutorials that I did. That's another company that hired me. Oh, that was a couple of years ago. It's great that you're now here. I've been working with Nexttut for like 2 years now, I think. 2 or 3 years. 3 years. I think it's 3 years. I'm not sure. It's been a long time. So I did a couple of tutorials with that other company, and then I started working here with Nalin, and yeah, I did a character. But I think that course, you probably saw it was the soldier or the female character. I think the female character is still like up to date. I think most of the things there are still like useful, but I think the soldier one's a little bit outdated now. Aryan Sony, he says, hi there, Abraham. I'm pretty decent when I work with environments, but I've always wanted to do characters. That was my reason for entering this 3D world. I've started making characters in Maya only, and they look awful, and I haven't tried sculpting yet. Okay, yeah, so let's take a little bit of a detour here. Let me open my tablet here. Oh, that's amazing, Pinette. Amazing. I'm so happy for you. You're really making me happy because I know job hunting is one of the most like frustrating things that people can do. It's a really stressful process. So I'm happy that you were able to get a job. Congratulations, my friend. So here's the thing. For both, this is a question that Gursimran and Aryan are asking about characters. Unfortunately, characters are one of those things that are really complex, right? Like we know, a character is a really complex thing. And Maya used to have, or not Maya, like several years ago, the way you would do this would be through something called box modeling. So there were a lot of tutorials back in the day about how to box model a face. And probably some of you did things like this, where you start with like a box and a plane and try to make it look as nice and as clean as possible. Unfortunately, this is a very like non-creative, non-artistic way to create the face. It was the way to do it back in the day, like Gollum from Lord of the Rings. That's the way they did it. They didn't have ZBrush back then, so the first Gollum was done in a very like box modeling sort of thing. But the faces end up looking like this, like really ugly, like mannequins or like this. And that's unfortunate, right? Because a lot of people want to go for like a more like important or prominent face. And there's no easy way to say this, but you guys need to learn sculpting. Like there's just no other way. You need to do like the face with a ZBrush in sculpting. And here's where I'm gonna talk about like a very important principle. Yeah, I used to do like box modeling as well, Chris. That was like the way to go. So yeah, there we go. So whenever you're doing a character, right, there's 3 main things to a character. First is the form. So when you're doing, for instance, like a face, we start by sculpting the basic shape of the face, like this, right? Just like a mannequin. And we do the skeleton. So we would do like the holes for the eyes, the holes for the nose, and then the teeth, right? So something like this. We would have the neck over here, something like this. And the skull or the basic shapes of the character are going to be what's going to give you that foundation. It's like building a house, right? Like when you build a house, you need the pillars that are going to support the house. The muscles are going to give you the form. So again, if we had to like create like a little bit of a list, the bones are going to give you the structure and the proportions. And then the muscles are going to give you the form. Because muscles are going to start filling in all of these areas. For instance, we have this muscle here called the masseter, which is going to give you this cheekbone, right? Or the cheek itself. We have the orbicularis oris, which are the muscles that go around the eyes. There's a lot of muscles that go towards the mouth and help us like move it. There's a muscle that goes like this, and there's like a temporal muscle over here. So all of these muscles are going to give us the form. They're going to push the skin up, and they're going to create different volumes, different structures, different elements and flows in the general sense of things. And then on top of this, we're gonna have other elements such as, oh, that's a horrible color, such as like fat, skin, wrinkles, right? So this should be, whenever you're doing a face, it should be a sort of like a layering process. When you start with something simple, like the form of the head, and then you layer on top the muscles, and then you layer on top like the fat and the skin and everything, and that's when you're gonna start getting like your character and all of the different things that you would expect a character to have. A lot of people try to go to like the end of the character from the very beginning, and what ends up happening, of course, is that it becomes really difficult to control, and then you get like a really ugly character. But if you do this, as you can see, it's a lot easier to build, to draw, to sculpt, to do anything, because you're doing this from a like a layer perspective, okay? Now, I do have a couple of courses if you guys want to check them out. I have the Demon course, the Soldier course, and I think that's it. I think those are the only two characters that I've done. Those are really good to understand the form, but I'm preparing one right now that's going to be airing very soon. And then after that one, we'll probably do the anatomy, where I'm going to go like really, really deep in all of this, like things about like the structure of the human body, because it's really, really important to understand how to get all of that working. So hopefully, guys, Ariane and Gursimran, that gives you guys a little bit of an idea. My best advice: grab ZBrush. Even if it's the free version, you can try that one. I think it's called like ZBrush Basic or something, or ZBrush Core, and you can start like just like messing around with the forms and the general shapes of the things that we need. That's a great question, Chris. You can find the links in the description. I'm not sure if right now in the stream we have like a comment section or like a description section. I think we do. And if you go there, there's a link to our Udemy course and to Skillshare. Right now we have a promotion with Skillshare, I believe, where you can get a 1 free month trial premium. So you can watch all of our courses for free, which is pretty cool. Chris S. I have a really cool friend whose name Chris S as well. Are you that friend? Do you know me personally, Chris? Because you have the same name and the same initial for the last name, and I'm wondering if you're my my friend from back in the day. Let's see. Punet, I have a question regarding Marmoset. How to use multiple texture sets in Marmoset? I don't think you can. Unfortunately, I know it. I knew it. I knew it. Chris, how are you, my friend? Chris is a master. Oh, no, you're not that Chris. Oh, close though, close. Now, my friend Chris, he's a master. He's in Canada. He's a really, really good anime sculptor. He does like statues of like Saint Seiya, Dragon Ball, and stuff like that. He also works in the game studio. His name is Chris Silva. I thought you might have been that one, but that's fine. Houston is really close. We're really close, actually. If you ever come visit Saltillo, let me know. Cool. So hey, Kayan, welcome to the stream. So yeah, who did that? Who asked the question? Yeah, Punet. I don't think you can do Udems in Marmoset. I know that there's a couple of plugins that some people have created, and they kind of work. But the best thing you can do is the following. Let me show you real quick. So imagine we have this model, right? And we combine all of this. And let's say we have a Udem with 4 textures, right? Like, that's 1. That's 2. And that's 3. So imagine this is your model with your Udems. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna grab the UV shell, like this one, and you're gonna assign a new material, like a Lambert. And you're gonna call this Lambert. This Lambert's gonna be called like Udem 1001. And then you grab the second UV and you do the same thing. Assign new material, Lambert, Udem 1002. And you keep doing that, and when you export this model, it's gonna have 4 materials assigned to it, and when you import those materials into Marmoset, it will automatically assign the materials to each section, and then you just like load your textures. You're gonna have to do this manually, unfortunately, but that way you could get a Udem working inside of Marmoset. I did that trick to work with Unreal, because Unreal doesn't support Udems either. Fact Archib, I started Term 2 at Noma this term. Did you ever have sculpting? Dude! You are a fellow Noman student. Yes, of course I had class with John. Tell him I say hi. Next class, tell him Abraham says hi. Maybe he'll remember me. If he doesn't, tell him I did a Pan's Labyrinth character with him. It was probably like, what, 7 years ago? Great teacher. Oh my god, I can't believe you're a Noman. Amazing. That's one of the best experiences of my life. You're gonna have a great time. People there are just so cool. New feature in Quadro? No, there's no new features. There was a little bit of a performance upgrade, or like just performance boost in general. I do feel it a little bit like faster. It's not lagging as much as it normally does, so I'm happy with that. But I don't see any like important update. Like, at least on the release things that they did for Maya 2023. They didn't announce anything special. As you can see here, guys, I'm using a lot of triangles. Triangles are fine for game elements, because we're not going to be using smooth. We're not going to smooth anything. It's just going to be like this. Like, this is the model that we would be seeing in-game. Akref, Bulsen, can you explain to me the Udems, please, and why we use them? I will explain those. Let me bring my sticky notes. But not today. That's a little bit more of a complex thing. So I'm gonna make a video about Udems, okay? We have used Udems before. If you browse our channels, I think I already have like one video, but I can cover those again. I know some people were asking like other questions about Udems. It's a really powerful tool. It's not for every like production pipeline, because some productions require more performance oriented textures and topology. But it's a good way to get like a really high texture resolution on your characters. So it is a useful tool to know. If you're gonna go into movies or commercials, you definitely need to know how to work with Udems. It's important. Oh, don't worry, my friend. Don't worry, Chris. That's great. Any new features in Quadro? No. Are you not going to complete one of assets from hard surface modeling for beginners course in Maya? Yes, we're gonna do one. I don't think we're gonna do today, but I want to do the GameCube controller. I want to UV the GameCube controller, and I want to texture it so that you guys can see how that one looks after a nice like texture. Maybe make it like a dirty, like old, abandoned GameCube controller or something like that. Yeah, we've answered that question. No new features, Ibrahim. No new features in Quadro. Yes, we're gonna do the baking, Kayan. I'll show you how to do the bakes. It's really easy. What software do you use for texturing, Kayan? That's gonna be an important question. Do you use Marmoset or do you use Substance Painter? Which one do you prefer? Some people have been using Marmoset to texture nowadays. It's not a bad software. I do think Substance is superior though, but Marmoset's not bad. We also released a new Substance course not so long ago. I didn't do that one, but it's also available for you guys to check it out. Substance, okay, yeah, I can do Substance. I'll show you. We're almost done. I'll finish this guy. I'll do the UVs real quick, and then I'll show you guys how to do the bakes. Marmoset is much faster for rendering, of course, yeah. But for texturing, I'm not sure. I consider myself quite fast in the inside of Substance, so I'm not planning on changing Substance in my pipeline anytime soon. Perfect. So our topology is ready. Let's just give it a quick look here. As you can see, we have one face that has the normals reversed. So I'm gonna grab that face and say mesh display reverse. So that's facing forward. Alexander, you're in Brazil. Amazing. Wow, we have people from all over the world. That's pretty cool. I think that's one of the magics of YouTube and the internet in general, right? I'm in Mexico. Some of you guys are in India, Houston, Brazil. I want to visit Brazil sometime. A very good friend of mine, when I was in medicine school, she was from Brazil. Portuguese is really... I really like how Portuguese sounds. Like the sound of the language is really cool. So there we go. I just aligned all of the vertices there so they are like neatly aligned. I'm gonna say mirror. It's gonna be mirror axis X negative. Hit apply. And I'm gonna change, this is very important, change the bounding box to world. There we go. And 0.001 on the threshold so that only the vertices that are right in the center get merged together. Here, for instance, I can start like simplifying. For instance, that one. Let's just collapse it. Oh, there's a little bit of a rogue vertex right there. You can see it there. Whoa. Let's delete that vertex. Grab that line. I'm just gonna collapse it. There we go. Let's delete that point. I like to use number 3. Like smooth mode. I know we're not going to be smoothing this guy, but I like to use it just to make sure that we don't have any like weird effects. And there we go. That's our low poly for the tabard. Ariane says, thank you a lot for your views on that. I'll check out your ZBrush course for characters. Yeah. Good luck, my friend. It's a fun course. It's a fun course. If you've never done ZBrush before, I can recommend the intro to, or not, complete guide to ZBrush 2022. That one's really recent. I released that one on January, and it could give you like a really good introduction to the software before you jump onto characters, because characters are tricky. So I do recommend practicing a little bit before going there. So I'm gonna go here, mesh display. I'm gonna hit soften edge. There we go. And this is gonna give me like just a soft effect. And don't worry about the shadows. Those shadows are gonna be gone once we do the bake. So this is what we want. This is working fine. And then now the UVs. So I have a method. I talk about this one on the demystifying UVs video, which you guys are welcome to check out. And it's a very simple process. First of all, we go to UV and I say camera based, and that just takes a picture of the object. And if we go to the UV editor, you're gonna see that we have like literally just a picture of the object. Now this is a really, I would say, simple object, because as you can see it's really flat, so it should be fairly easy to create like this element, right? Like to UV this element. So I'm gonna go into UV, 3D cut and sew UV tool, and I'm gonna select all of the borders on the back side of the element like this, like all of these lines, because that's a line that's gonna be hidden, so people are not gonna see this, and it's a lot easier to hide the UV seam right there. Now, technically, that could be it. Like, we could just leave it like that, and that's fine. But from experience, I know that this, like, golden thing right here is gonna have a little bit of a hard time, like, unfolding itself from the tabard itself. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut one more line around the base of this golden, like, sun thing. So I'm just gonna double click. This is where your topology, like how you create all of these points, really comes into play. There's a rogue vertex right there. There we go. Let's go UV, 3D cut again. There we go. I'll just continue. There we go. Oh. And once we hit this position, we just go back here. Oh, not all the way there. Just there. Perfect. So that's going to cut the top part of the sun. And now we need to cut the bottom part. So one of the rules of the UVs is you want to keep all of your borders hidden, or as hidden as possible, so that we don't see them on the final result, right? Pretty straightforward, I would say. And that's it. So now the little sun shape, as you can see, it's cut from the rest of the tabard, and we have like this top part of the tabard and this bottom part of the tabard. Now, the test to see whether or not our UVs are working nicely is grabbing all of these guys and pressing Control U. Control U will unfold them, and as you can see, almost there. Forgot these two edges right here. I'm just gonna cut them. There we go. And we Control U again. Control U. There we go. Control L is a layout function, and as you can see, this is gonna lay out our UVs very nicely. Mukul Sahu, welcome my friend. I'm doing great. How about you? I know it's early over there. Good morning. Good morning to all of you guys. Now let's rotate these guys so they're facing where they're supposed to be facing, which is like this. And we just move this up. And that's it. Those are our UVs. Like that's what you want to have. No secret technique or anything here. That's what we need. That's what we need. Hello, PD the Gamer. Welcome. Punet asks, can you suggest me one or two intermediate advanced game prop concepts to create and add to my portfolio? I mean, it's gonna be a little bit difficult for me to tell you like use or do this, but if you look for like prop concept art, you're gonna find a lot of stuff. So whenever you guys are looking for things to model, always try to look for something that hasn't been done before, is not as like famous, not as common, and something that you like the style of things that you might like, and something that you know that you can deliver to the maximum quality. So for instance, depending on your skill level, like I'm not sure how advanced you are in sculpting and stuff, but like something like this for a game, it's pretty cool. I know this is from World of Warcraft, so you might want to look for something that again hasn't been done before. Like this is one that I ask my students when I teach a class that's especially for like video game props, and this is a really good exercise. But I've seen a lot of this ones. Like a lot of people do this because it's relatively simple. But if you just want to practice, this is a great exercise. And later on, like going for this sort of like advanced things, like more mechanical stuff, it's really really good. Like this kind of stuff, it's really good. Like all of these elements are really really cool things to practice with, I would say. Juba, 4:38 a.m. Where do you live, my friend? Where are you? Are you in like where would you be? Are you in like Egypt or something like that? In Africa? I think it would be about 4 a.m. in Africa. Chris, yes, our courses are in Skillshare and Udemy, but it takes a little bit longer to approve the courses or on Skillshare. So we usually release first on Udemy and then in Skillshare. Algeria, oh nice. Algeria, cool. So you might want to check that one, that out. Cool. So I'm just gonna take a quick look at this guy. It looks a little bit faceted. You can see like all of this fragmentation. That's not something I want. So I'm gonna load my tool here, the final one that we have. This is the high poly, the actual high poly. And as you can see, it still looks a little bit fragmented, but we can just like smooth it out a little bit. There we go. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn off everything, and then just turn on these things right here. And I'm gonna say merge visible. This is the new like tab art. Topology wise is fine, so I'm just gonna export this. I'm gonna call this tab art high poly. We're gonna jump onto the bake section. We're gonna do the bake stuff now, so pay attention if you want to learn about that one. I'm gonna delete this one real quick. I'm gonna say file, import, or just go here and bring the tab art high poly. There we go. Now you guys must remember that when I created this thing, oh my god. Oh, did it modify the scale? No. Oh, okay, cool. I'm just gonna combine all of this. For some reason, it exported every single polygon as a single one. Ephemera. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do like more advanced rigging. Again, as you mentioned, it's not really my specialty. Like the rigging course has been quite a success. Like people really like them, but it's just basic stuff, right? Like it's just for like a game character or something simple. I don't feel as confident doing something that I'm not like really proficient with, so I'll probably have to skip that one, like an advanced character course. We might need to find another teacher that is a little bit more proficient with that one. So I'm gonna grab this one right here, and we'll grab both of them. Freeze the transformations, grab the high one. I'm gonna say File, Export Selection, and let's export this on our C Tools folder again, here. So this is the Tabard High Poly. There we go. I'm gonna grab my low poly now, which has the UVs. I'm gonna say File, Export Selection, and this is gonna be Tabard Low Poly. Now we're gonna jump into Substance Painter. Let's go. Now, Ace B says, I love your courses. I've been working on the game character course, The Night. I use ZBrush and Blender instead of ZBrush and Maya, but all your courses are great. That's amazing. Yeah, I've been wanting to learn more Blender. Unfortunately, I don't have the time to just like sit down and learn and just like go through tutorials and stuff. But yeah, Blender is a really powerful tool. I've been using it for a couple of renders, and it's really, really fast. I like it. So we're gonna grab our tabard right here. I'm gonna do it 2K. We don't need a big one because this is not gonna be the final texture. This is just like a preview so that you guys can see the baking process. This is my low poly. See how all of those dark lines disappear? That's what we're going for. And now for the baking, it's very easy. We just go here to texture set settings, go to bake mesh map, select 2K for the main like tabard, select our high poly, and just hit bake. And Marmoset pretty much does, or Marmoset Substance pretty much does everything for us. And that's it. So now our tabard has been baked. And yes, there's a couple of like errors. Like you can see a little bit of a weird bake there on the like sharp corner. But other than that, it looks pretty nice. And this is what we would use to texture everything. Like yeah, like most of the stuff. Jebin, yes. I don't think I can share it on the comment section. I think YouTube like blocks them or something. But if you go back to, I'm not sure if it's active right now. Let me check real quick. Give me 1 second. No, it's not open right now, but I'm gonna open it for you guys. Let me see if I can share it. Okay. So this is where we normally drop stuff here on my drive. This is the link. Let's see if it works. Yes, it works. Okay, so that's the link. So just create a folder or drop just like a text document with your name on it and the link to your portfolio, and that's where you're gonna be able to do it. You guys, if you guys are watching this stream, you can already go there and submit it for May. The May review is gonna be on May 14 and 15. So yeah, make sure to submit your stuff so that we can review it once we get there. Mukul. Oh, Ephemera first. She, well, I'm not sure if it's a she or a he, but Ephemera says, also, I have a character with a few overlapping prop parts. I don't know if it's ideal for rig baking animation. Just want to ask if... Yeah, no, it's totally normal. What we normally do, you've probably seen this like action figure kits. So usually when we do the bakes for our characters, if they have a lot of props, we would place the props like side by side like this, like an action figure. We do all the bakes, we do all the textures, and then we assemble everything and we rig it with everything like overlapping each other. That's completely normal. It will depend on the production though. Some productions like to have their like their character combined into a single mesh for rigging, and some people like to have like multiple scheme binds. It depends. You're gonna have to either ask your lead what you guys want, or if you're doing it yourself, I would probably recommend combining everything just because it's easier. You only have one skin cluster. Skinning becomes a little bit trickier, but it's a good practice. And then Mukul asks, I was curious, do you guys use coolers in summers or fan and AC only? Here where I live, it's usually just a fan is more than enough. But last year, and of course global warming and all that stuff, it's been a little bit more complicated. So in my old office, I did have an AC because it was getting like really, really hot. It was a small space, so my computer and everything, there was just a lot of heat. So I did get an AC. Right now where I am with the fan, it's usually more than enough. Juba, Kavil, I'm not familiar with Niagara fluids. That's another one of the areas that I don't really like master. I always like to show my students this little picture. It's called the 3D production pipeline. Whenever I'm teaching like the basic or the... Yeah. Whenever I'm teaching the intro to 3D, the basic 3D course, I teach my students this. And I tell them, hey, this is what happens when we go through a production pipeline, right? So I consider myself proficient in the pre-production phase. Like I can come up with ideas. I know how to write the story. I know how to do basic storyboards. I know how to do basic animatics. I know how to design. I'm not really good at like drawing, but I can defend myself. And then this is really my strength. I'm really good at modeling, texturing, rigging, animation, lighting, and rendering. That's my strong points. BFX is not something that I know. I don't know a lot about compositing either. I don't do a lot of like color correction or motion graphics. That's not my strength. So my personal strength is mostly in pre-production and in production. So unfortunately, I won't be able to help you with Niagara either. I am learning it. I've been doing a little bit of research, but I'm not in a master level to be able to teach it. Yeah, it's cooler right here where we live. We're high in the mountains. It's a desert, but we're close to the mountains, so it's a little bit cooler. Yeah, no, like a true 3D generalist that knows everything in the pipeline. Especially with how complex softwares are nowadays, it's not feasible. It's really complicated for someone to be good at every single step of the pipeline. So you usually will have like a modeling generalist, an animation generalist, a VFX generalist that knows a little bit about like all kinds of modeling, all kinds of animation, all kinds of VFX, and then you'll have your specialists, like one guy who's really good at fire, one guy who's really good at smoke, one guy who's really good at sculpting monsters or at animating characters or at animating animals, right? So yeah, like a true generalist nowadays, it's pretty much impossible. Yeah, it's not really an easy task. So yeah, this is the what's the word? This is the... Let me just reset my... There we go. This is the result. This is how this thing's gonna look. Let me throw in some quick colors. I think that's gonna look nice. So this is hand painted, right? Like we want to go for like a hand painted effect, and the way we can do that is by utilizing a couple of filters. I actually have a smart material, I think. Do I have it here? Here, yeah. So I created this smart material for a project that I did a couple of months ago, and it's supposed to give us this sort of like hand painted effect. And it's a smart material that allows me to change the colors. So for instance, I'm seeing here that this tabard is supposed to be golden with like it's supposed to be gold and then have a little bit of the white on the underneath. So I can just go here to my colors and literally change the hue. So we get this very nice gold effect. And then what we do is we mask this thing and we go either per face or per ID. I think per face here is gonna work nice. Like this. It's a little bit more advanced. Again, as I mentioned, I did this for a project a couple of months ago. And it saved us a lot of time because otherwise I would have to like literally paint or hand paint all of this, which is like that would be the way to do it. Like if I was working for like World of Warcraft or something, all of this thing that I'm doing right now, this would be like hand painted, right? That's what gives the game such an amazing look, such a like very artistic. But unfortunately, that process is also very, very, very time consuming. And sometimes when you're working in production, you need to be efficient. Clients are usually impatient. They want things to be like done very, very fast, and you as a 3D artist have to be as accommodating as possible. There we go. So that would be like my gold color for the tabard. That would be like the hand painted texture. And then the cool thing about like this kind of materials is that I can just like drag and drop another one, and as you can see, that's gonna be like the white material underneath. It's just a matter of going into the colors and desaturating them. So all of the channels that have any sort of color, we're gonna desaturate them. And that's it. We got this very nice hand painted effect. And if we want to change anything, we can just again go back here and change the tones a little bit. Yeah, like we will need like a technical artist creating some shaders. It feels amazing to discuss stuff here and learn at the same time. It feels like I'm in a class book with all the word. Yeah, I feel the same way when I'm teaching. I love 3D because it's such a cool thing to do, right? Like it's just fun. It's just fun. We're just having fun and we're just creating cool stuff. So yeah, I mean this looks cool, right? Like this. Again, this is great because this is a flat color. So there's no glossy information or anything. So there's a couple of like lights and tricks that I did here on the smart materials to create this sort of effect, and it gives this sort of like again hand painted effect. I'm just gonna be a little bit more careful here with all of this masking, and this is eventually what we're gonna be doing with the character. And yeah, I always try to make my classes fun. Unfortunately, and this is not the blame of the teachers, but unfortunately, for so long, like educational like entities like schools and universities, they have been following a pattern, right? Like if you're doing engineering or if you're doing medicine or if you're doing other things, you can't learn the way we learn here in 3D, but you need to adapt because this is not the way that it works for us for 3D. I teach at a couple of schools, and most of them, not all of them, but most of them are really flexible with the way I teach. So for instance, I don't use grades. I don't grade my students. There's no like a grade, like final grade of like you get 100, you get 90, you get like 80. At the end, I do need to submit them because they need them for like I don't know, their stuff. But I tell my students, if you do your homework and if you do your final project, you're gonna pass the class, and I'm gonna give you 100, depending on how good your project is, right? And if you don't come to class and if you don't do your work, then you're gonna fail. Simple as that. And most of my students like that way of working because it's really dynamic, right? Like they don't need to worry about, oh, I need to get a 10 or a 9. They just worry about creating amazing artwork, and that way they do amazing things, and that's really cool for everyone. Hey, ¿qué onda, Jesús? ¿Cómo andas? Aquí andamos para que veas. No, Juba, I'm not using a Cintiq right now. I don't have a Cintiq. I have this one. It's Huion Canvas 16. It's the 16 inches screen. I got this one earlier this year. I did a review on the channel as well. It's really good. I've never used a display pen before. I've always used like a traditional small tablet. But I got a little bit of extra money and I was able to afford one. And yeah, it's really cool. But no, when I work with Substance, I like to work with my traditional, just mouse. Yeah. So yeah, this is the bake. I don't remember who asked the bake question a couple of minutes ago. But this is the bake process. So this is what we're gonna eventually be doing with the character, with the whole character. But before that, we need to do the retopology. We need to do the retopology, and oh my god, it's gonna be It's gonna be quite the retopology. I mean, there's of course things that we can simplify. Don't think that we're gonna be doing this retopology in a really like intense way. Yes. So my experience at Noman, I mean, it was amazing. It was 3 years of amazing experiences, a lot of learning. I was lucky enough to get the support of my parents. I must be honest with that. They were really supportive. I did work for a couple of years before going to Noman. I saved a lot of money to go there because back then it was pricey. It's a pricey school. It's not like easy money, but it's worth it. It's totally worth it. And I went there from 2013 to 2016, so 3 years going at Noman. And the first year, it's all traditional art, so we learn about sculpture, we learn about painting, we learn about design, perspective, drawing, all that kind of stuff, anatomy. And then the next 2 years are all about 3D. Nowadays, they have more stuff, like more options for people. Back in the day, they didn't have like a game option. It was only film and commercials and stuff like that. But nowadays they do have that new option for games, and yeah, so that was pretty cool. Yes, the streams do stay up. People always ask me about them. If you navigate to YouTube, let me show you, and you go to the Nexttut channel. If you go to playlists or to videos, you can go to here, live now, or no, sorry, past live streams, and here we have all of the live streams. So the first live stream we did was last year, and then we did 2 of them, and then January, February, March we did a special one a couple of weeks last week I think, and then this one's gonna be here as well. So you go to videos and then past live streams, and it's gonna be there. I'm not sure if it's here on the all live now. Yeah, it's here as well. No, it's not. No, it's not. You have to. You have to go down here to past live streams, but yeah, they're all here in the channel. It's for mobile game. Yes, this character would be for mobile because it's quite low poly. So we would definitely have it like for like a sort of mobile game. PD Gamer, do I do animation? I do a little bit of animation. Not a lot, to be honest, but I do. We do have a course. It's called Introduction to Animation or Maya Animation Basics or something like that. It got like a good response as well from you guys, so if you want to check that one out, it's basic exercises, the basic principles of animation. But again, I'm not an animator. Like that's not my main job, or at least that's not my main specialty. We do animation here in the studio, but that's not my specialty. So let's start here with the leg. I'm gonna show you a trick, a really cool trick. So you guys know that the legs, especially from here from the ankle to about here the knee, they're pretty much the same. So I'm gonna grab a cylinder. I'm gonna change the sides to 12, and then I'm gonna delete the top and bottom faces. There's a shortcut here, Control F11 to delete those faces, and we get this like big cylinder. I'm just gonna make it smaller, like this, and then a little bit bigger, like this. Rotate it so it kind of like fits the element, and then we can say mesh conform, and conform will, as the name implies, try to conform the cylinder to the silhouette of the character. And then if we add a couple of more elements and we go to quadro, we can just relax this, and as you can see, it's gonna give us a little bit of a head start, right? Instead of having to draw all of those faces that I just placed there like individually, I can just get like a little bit of a head start, and that's really handy. Now it's just a matter of like drawing and pushing all of those lines up. Now I'm gonna push them right about there first, because this character is asymmetrical. That's one of the other things that I was really not looking forward to, because I knew that when we got to this stage, to the retopology stage, we'll have to do this twice, right? Like we're gonna have to do both sides, and it's gonna be slightly asymmetrical. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab this guy. I'm gonna do a mirror, bounding box X, or sorry, not bounding box, world X. Hit apply, and there we go. So both legs are done, or they're ready. But now since the shorts and everything are slightly different, I'm gonna have to do them slightly different. And yes, topology is gonna be slightly different, That's completely normal for this kind of like characters. It's something that happens quite often. Now, here's a very good question that a lot of people or some people might have. Like, do we go in and then out, or do we cross across the shorts? The best answer is usually across. Yes, we're gonna have like a weird shadow there, but actually the best answer would be to go back to ZBrush and just extrude the pants until they touch the body of the character, and that way we save ourselves that like nightmare stuff. I'm doing great, Sadish. Doing great. Requirements to become a great character artist. Practice, of course. Practice is super important. You're not going to get far without practicing, of course. But other than practice, you need to have a really good understanding of anatomy, which, as I've mentioned before, we are going to be releasing a new anatomy course soon. And you need to have a really good understanding on proportions. You need to be able to do male and female characters, which are quite different in the forms usually. You need to have a good eye for proportions. You need to have a good eye for what's the word? For details. You need to master ZBrush, Substance Painter, Maya. You need to know about topology, animation ready topology, which is what I'm doing right here. Like, you need to know how to properly build all of that. All of those things are requirements to become a good character artist. Why does Maya render takes more time than Unreal? Because Maya is something called a path tracer. So what happens is Maya calculates the path that a ray of light takes from the camera to all of the different parts of the scene. And all of those calculations take time. That's going to give you a super accurate result, and it's going to give you a lot of like complex information. Yes, Unreal can already do that with ray tracing as well. However, Maya can, and like other like 3D softwares, can resolve a really complex scene. Like, imagine if you have like a pool full of water, and inside that pool you have wine glasses, and inside those wine glasses you have like bioluminescent jellyfish moving and animating around. Like, the complexity of that scene, the amount of bounces of light and refractions and stuff would be so humongous. Unreal can't handle that just yet, but I'm not like I'm totally convinced that technology will catch up to that, and eventually we'll be able to do renders in real time as well. But right now, if you want the most physically accurate render possible, the DCC applications such as Maya and Blender and 3D Studio Max are still going to be the best way to go. However, if you want like a nice clean render, Unreal can do amazing things as well. Like, it's not a bad engine. It's like a really good engine, to be honest. The only issue, or one of the issues that you have with Unreal, is that you do need a beefy system, a beefy computer, to be able to process all of that stuff like in a good way, because it becomes quite heavy. And the advantage of Maya is that all of that work, it's done on the CPU. And CPUs are usually built better to handle like a lot of processing and don't like overheat. And of course, graphics cards can't do that just yet either. I'm a Maya user. Can I learn Blender to make sure? Yes, of course you can learn Blender. I'm actually teaching some of my students Blender this next semester, even though they are Maya users, because it's just a handy tool to know, especially if you're gonna be freelancing and if you're gonna be doing like I don't want to say small jobs, but simple things. Like, let's say you're working for like commercials for your local industry, maybe like a bakery, or like here in Mexico, like a taco stand, and you don't want to pay for the Maya license. You can do like a lot of cool stuff inside of Blender in the same way you would do inside of Maya. So even if you're a Blender user, or sorry, a Maya user, I do recommend that you learn Blender, just as a side tool. Like, for instance, I know the basics of Blender. I could do this retopology in Blender as well, but I'm just faster in Maya. So if I can stay in Maya for this, I'll probably do it. But if I need to do something quick and simple, I'll jump into Blender and do it as well. So it's always good to have options, of course. Yeah, of course. An RTX 3090 would be a humongous improvement on speed, but it's really expensive. Here in Mexico, it's right now it's retailing at 45,000 pesos, which is about like 20 $2,200. It's just insane. Like there's people here that make that money in 6 months of working. So it's just too much money. Like I right now I can't afford one of those. I need to keep saving. We're trying to build a house over here with my wife, and right now I can't afford. I'm using a RTX 1080, and that one's more than enough. Where is Nalin? I think Nalin might be having breakfast right now. He's probably working on more stuff. He's doing more of an like a director role right now. He's the one that gets all of the artists. He helps us create and develop all of the new courses. So he's I'm not sure if he's still like working in the. I think he is working on 3D as well. But yeah, he's more on a manager position. I'll ask him if he wants to come into one of these live streams later on. That'll be fun. He's the head of Nexttut, of course. For those of you that are unaware. Why does the low poly texture model not looking good in Arnold? Because Arnold is not like the best way to present a low poly model. I would usually, like if you have a low poly model, I would suggest you use a Marmoset to present it in a nicer way. You also need to check to make sure that your normal maps and everything are like working as nice as possible. Make sure you're using proper topology and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I will need to take a look at the model to tell you exactly why it might not be looking so great. But yeah, Arnold is usually better for subdivision models. So when you press number 3 and smooth a model, that's usually what Arnold should do. I do want to keep the pants floating, but I don't want to do the the retopology here. It's so tricky because there's a lot of geometry. Like every time we change the silhouette, we mentioned this when we were sculpting. Every time we change the silhouette here, it just makes it a lot difficult for the whole thing to work properly. So I'm gonna work over here. How many years did it take me to master ZBrush? I would say about 2 years. Like after 2 years, I felt like really confident about ZBrush. But I've been using it for 10 years now. So of course, the more time you use it, and I don't consider myself like a super master. There's people out there that are like really good at all of the things inside of ZBrush. I'm really good at the things that I normally do. But for instance, hard surface, it's something that I want to get better at. That's a good question, Utter Unit. So it depends. That's unfortunately always the answer, right? Like I'm trying to keep this for like a low poly game poly count. I know that it's gonna give me a good bake, just from experience. I know that this is enough for a good bake. But if I were doing this for like a more like a cleaner or like a more high poly character, I would probably go like double the amount of this poly count. The best way to know what the poly count is going to be, or the poly count you should have, is reference what they're doing right now for games, reference the kind of game that your character would be in, and that's the answer that you're going to get. So for instance, if you take a look at Uncharted 4 face topology, I know Uncharted 4 is a little bit of an old game, but this is like a PS4 like next gen game, right? So this, for instance, this is a topology that was used for PlayStation 3. This right now, as you can see, this is the topology that they use for PlayStation 4 and I would say PlayStation 5. So this would be like for a AAA character, this would be like the density that you're going for. Now, of course, you don't do this. You start with a low topology like this and then you smooth it out, because if you try to draw every single square right here, you're gonna go crazy. Or I would actually go for like something like this first and then smooth this out a couple of times until we get something like this. But if you take a look at like Overwatch, for instance, and you take a look at the models in Overwatch, you're gonna see that the amount of polygons that they have is way lower than Uncharted. So this is, if the game that you're striving for is something like Overwatch, this will be the density that you would be going for, right? So just try to reference the game that you're thinking that your character or your model is gonna be in, and that's like roughly the estimate that you're gonna have. Usually when you're working for a client or for a studio, they're gonna tell you, they're gonna say, hey, this character is gonna be like I don't know, 50k or 100k triangles, and you need to make sure that you use the most out of those like numbers that you get. And the way to use the most out of those numbers is always give more polygons to the most important things, such as faces and hands. And then areas, for instance, like this, guys, that are really big and there's not a lot of information, you can go with lower topologies. No, my friend, no. This, I mean, yes, of course they used it for cinematic as well, but I've seen models nowadays used with this amount of polygons. Like, I've seen this amount of polygons on a game character. Like, I think Kratos from God of War, I think he has like a very similar density. But it's usually games where the engines are like super optimized, and it's usually games where there's not a lot of characters on the scene at the same time. So for instance, in God of War for Kratos, you usually have like Kratos, you have the little kid, and like 2, 3, maybe 4 enemies, okay? There's another game, some of you might have seen this, called like Total War. Total War Topology. So there's this Total War Warhammer thing, and if you take a look at the topology of these models, like the models that are in game, it's super low. Like it looks really nice here, but if you take a look at the topology, like the whole character is just like 10k triangles, because there's so many units on the ground that you can't have anything bigger, because it just breaks the game, right? It's just too much graphics, or too many graphics. That's a great question. Do you work on cinematic heavy characters, or they are a separate department for riggers and animators? Well, as you guys know, my studio right here, the studio that I direct, it's a small studio. Right now we're 5 people. We do a little bit of everything. So sometimes we need to do like high poly characters, and sometimes we need to do low poly characters. Usually we do low poly characters or game characters. So that's the area where I'm a little bit more expert at. But we've done high poly characters as well, and it's pretty much the same process. I mean, since we're a small studio, we have to do both processes, right? But if you're working on a big studio like Blizzard, Blizzard has a specific department for cinematics, and they have a specific department for games. So the people from the departments do not, I mean, they might share assets and stuff, but they're different departments, so they have different functions as well. Different riggers, different everything, because it's not the same to create a rig for a cinematic that it is to create it for a game, right? Like rigs for cinematics are so much more complex, because you want to have as much control over the character so that you can emote and create a lot more variation on the performance from the actors, than a game character that's only gonna be like attacking and dying and stuff, right? So it's gonna be slightly different. Here, for instance, what I just did there is I just looped the whole feet, or the whole foot. So as you can see, it's going to be very easy to just create this nice little circular pattern around the foot, and just fill in all of the bottom part. How to self-taught as a character artist? Well, you're gonna have to get tutorials, of course. There's a couple of tutorials that I've recorded here for Nexttut. I could recommend those ones, like the demon character creation for games. That was the second tutorial I did for Nexttut. I'm really happy with that one. It was a really cool project. It's a little bit more for intermediate levels. The first thing I would say, try to learn ZBrush. If you don't know how to use ZBrush, you definitely need to learn ZBrush, because ZBrush is like one of the kings of the 3D production pipelines nowadays. So you definitely need to learn either ZBrush or sculpting in Blender. Of course, Blender is free, but there's not a lot of information, or at least not a lot of tutorials, I think, for sculpting in Blender as there are for sculpting in ZBrush. So I would recommend doing that first, and after that, anatomy, proportions, all the things that I mentioned. Final Fantasy makes it hard for me to even notice the difference. Yeah. I know. Yeah, there are certain production houses, certain games that make it just so unbelievable to distinguish what's a cinematic and what's the actual game. Now, also, that's one thing, I think we talked about this before. there are certain games that don't focus too much on the cinematic aspect of it. Like there are certain like production houses that believe, like Nintendo, right? Like Nintendo's a perfect example. They believe that a game should be fun. Like graphics are cool, they're important, but it's a game. So what's the most important thing of a game? Well, I would say the gameplay. I play Monster Hunter Rise with my brother. We've been playing it the last couple of weeks, and it's a really fun game. It's a really fun game, even though the graphics are not like mind blowing. They're good. They're nice. They look really pretty for the art style that they chose. But you don't have to have like the most amazing graphics to have a great game. So if you guys are gonna be going into games later on in your career, just keep that in mind. Not all of the games have to look like amazing. There's a lot of indie games out there that look really cool, and they're not 3D like well, they are 3D like Hades. Have you played that game, guys? That was an amazing game, and they use this sort of like cel-shaded 2D sort of style, even though everything's 3D, by the way. And it looks amazing. They don't have to look like hyper realistic to be a great game, and it was a great game also. So that's that's even better, right? Like you have a great game that looks really stylized, really cool, and then you have a great gameplay experience. Yeah, Hades is beautiful. Love that game. I couldn't beat it. I'm getting like really old for difficult games. I played it for several hours and I just couldn't do it. My reflexes are not what they used to be. Yes, that's a great question, Adarsh. Yes, having a particular style is welcomed. Like everyone has their own style. That's always the. I mean, it's just like natural, right? We're all different, so we're always gonna do things slightly different from each other. But if you want to do work on a production house, they expect you to have an art style that matches their style. So if you do a style like a World of Warcraft, which is very cartoonish, very stylized, and you want to work on the next Uncharted game, you might not be the best fit, right? Like the company might not want to invest on you because, well, your art style is quite different to what they're producing or what they want to produce. So you usually want to push your style towards the style where you would, or towards the style of the studio or the kind of like work you would like to do. Okay, that's it's important. Ephemera says Soul Shader 2.5D is even more of a beast. I think it took even Japan many years. Yes, it's because that's a little bit more technical. There's a lot of like shader things involved. I know that a lot of anime houses nowadays are using a lot of 3D, and well, they've been using 3D for a long time, right? But in the last couple of years, the things that they've been able to create with 3D is just amazing, compared to what the early 3D like two shaded thing used to look like. So yeah, yeah, exactly. It's a different beast. Rohan asks, when making hard surface low poly for baking, triangles are okay? Yes, triangles are fine. The rule of thumb for triangles is you don't want to have triangles on areas that are going to deform. So for instance, I just added 2 triangles right there. Cool? On that little like flappy area. Unless I'm going to add like a bone there that's going to move this flappy area and give it a little bit more like life to the piece, it really doesn't matter because everything is just going to bake down and that's fine. However, I wouldn't add a triangle like right here on the knee because I know that the knee is gonna bend. So that way, or that's the reason why I want to keep everything here as quad as possible. So the rule of thumb is just try to keep it clean. Don't add more polygons than you need. Triangles are fine as long as they're not in an area that's gonna be moving a lot. Like those 2 triangles are fine, and yeah, that's usually the way to go. For instance, here you guys are gonna see a really nice trick that I like to use with Retopology. I needed a lot of triangles to create the shapes here on the like back that this guy has, but I don't want all of these lines to go into the leg, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start stitching. So I'm gonna start creating this sort of like blocks here, where there's gonna be a lot of little triangles on the border that are gonna stitch together towards like the big shape, like that one right there. And it's fine because even though they're triangles, they're gonna be in an area that's not gonna move. The area that's gonna move is like right around here. So I know that eventually this thing is gonna deform with the leg, but it's gonna be fine. Again, this I'm having a little bit of a hard time explaining like why this works, I just know that it works because I've been doing it for a long time now. So you guys are gonna have to take my word for it. So see, I'm doing a little bit of a loop there. Another little bit of a loop here. The secret here is to catch the silhouette. Like, make sure that like when you see the object without the high poly, like when you see this silhouette, it looks good. So if that silhouette looks good, you're great. You're doing a good job. And I know that that foot looks like really nice. It's capturing that silhouette, so all of the little details and stuff are gonna be baked down. Cool. Let's see. Can you try the new auto retopology tool in Maya 2023? Yeah, of course I can try it. It's not gonna work, but I can try it. So I'll show you how it works with the tabard here. So this is the tabard that we did, and as you can see, the topology sucks. So I can go to mesh, retopology. It's gonna give me a couple of options. So I'm gonna pre-process the mesh. I'm gonna try to preserve the hard edges. Let's see if that works. And I'm gonna tell it, hey, you know what? Like, bring this down to like 2K polygons and hit apply. And it's gonna try and retopologize this in a similar way to how it does it in ZBrush with like a series measure. And let's see what we get. Hopefully this doesn't crash Maya because I haven't saved. And we're gonna lose all of the retopology process if this doesn't work. I really hope it doesn't break. Now I'm scared. PD the Gamer asks, sir, which artist are you? I would consider myself to be a 3D artist. That will be the answer. Yes, 3D artist. No, it's moving. It's moving. It's at 50%. So we're going. It's working. Let's just give it time. Wilfred says, can Maya shading nodes provide flexibility like Blender shader nodes? Yes. It's pretty much the same thing. Like, you have your hypershade, you have all of your nodes, and you can just like connect things from one point to another. So, yes. Okay, so it says it worked. I don't see that it works. Before anything bad happens, let's save. Let's save real quick because I don't want to lose anything here. Let's call this infected retopology. Here I'm gonna do another thing. I'm gonna say mesh separate, because I think these things are not combined. Like, the points are not combined. So let's edit mesh merge. .001. There we go. Delete history, freeze transformation, and I'm gonna say mesh separate. Mesh separate. Oh, it's only one piece. That's not true. Oh, it is one piece. Okay, yeah, no, it's not gonna work for this piece. I'm gonna have to do it on a different piece. Oh, wow, 650 gigabytes. Yeah, that's a lot. That's definitely a lot. Yeah, I usually delete the ZBrush quick save folder. Like, mine right now should be quite big as well. Like, there's all of this stuff. So yeah, just go preferences, quick save, delete quick save. Yes. Like, technically there shouldn't be any problem because we should have all of this information saved somewhere else, right? So yeah, I'm not scared. There we go. Well, guys, I think I'm gonna call it for tonight. I need to go to sleep. It's almost midnight over here, and I have more work to do tomorrow. But yeah, the retopology is going well. As you can see, this is the retopology for both feet. So I know that this are eventually gonna be baked nicely and normally. For Thursday, we're probably gonna have a video about the lighthouse. I know I promised you guys that one. We're still pending on that one, and then we'll come back with this one, and we'll keep retopologizing. I'm gonna show you a couple of tricks that we can do to simplify our lives up here with all of this like spikes and stuff, because otherwise it's gonna take forever. So yeah, I hope you guys had a nice time throughout this stream. It's been It's been an honor for me. Thank you very much for coming in. Thank you for tuning in. We're gonna have more streams later on. Remember, we have one stream every end of the month. But if there's like any important news or something, we'll do more streams. So yeah, thank you guys. Have a good day. GG. Good night, guys. Good night for me. Good day for you. And I'll see you back on the next one. Bye bye.